Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Rise and Grind in the Morning. I'm 72, the architect, aka Jason B. And today we're going to talk about why are you afraid of losing time? It's a great topic to talk about, especially on a Monday morning when we are trying to find the energy and the drive to get up. So stay tuned in just a moment. Well, good morning, everybody. Today I wanted to start talking about, how we're actually applying ourselves to the time available in each day, not about overall in our life, but that's something that we really got to look at. And how I really came across this topic today, since I haven't been on in a few days, was really to think about, what am I doing exactly with the best amount of me and what is available to me in the things that I apply myself to. And am I going further in my career? Am I making a big difference? Am I, doing all these great things? And one thing I definitely can tell you is that it's not easy. It's not easy trying to figure out, you know, um, where should you put the best of you, or can I put really a sequence of me? Can I put parts of me that I'm going to get maximum benefits? And that's the thing, is what we're going to talk about. But today, out of the Daily Stoic, which I tend to read out of Ryan Holiday's book and Stephen Hanselman, the question is where am I putting on airs? And that's a very, very important question. But the Stoic quote says basically, Zeno always said that nothing was more unbecoming than putting on airs, especially with yours, with yours. And that's by Dionysius Laterus, from Lives of the Eminent Philosopher 7.122. But Ryan goes on to explain much, much more than that. He says, Isocrates' famous letter to Demonicus, which was later to become the inspiration for Polonius's "To thine own self be true" speech, holds a similar warning to Zeno, writing that the young man Isocrates advises, "Be affable in your relations to those who approach you, and never haughty. For the pride of the arrogant, even slaves can hardly endure." But he also goes on to say, he says, one of the most common tropes in art from ancient literatures is to popular movies is the brash and overconfident young man who was to be taken down to be taken down a peg by an older and wiser man. It's cliche because it's a fact of life. People tend to get ahead of themselves, thinking that they've got it all figured out and are better than those who don't. It becomes unpleasant to put up with, and that someone has to drop some knowledge on them. But this is entirely avoidable. Confrontation, if the bubble is never inflated, it won't need to be popped. Overconfident confidence is a great weakness and liability. But if you are already humble, no one will need to humble you. And the world is much less likely to have nasty surprises for you. And if you stay down to earth, no one will need to bring you, and oftentimes crushingly so, to back down. So when I think about that, when I think about what that means, there was a couple words that really, really stood out for me. And I'm like, what the hell does this mean? So, like airs, what does that really mean? Now, in one part of the definition, it's kind of like it's talking about the gases of things, but it also is defined as an impression of quality or manner given by someone or something. But it's kind of like an example of it, and she answered with a faint air of boredom. But it's also similar to expression, appearance, and look, impression, and aspect. Now, the second term that really came up was affable. It's friendly, good natured, or easy to talk to, but it's similar to friendly, genial, congenial, confident, or no, congenial, cordial, warm, and pleasant. And the last word, haughty, arrogantly superior and disdainful. But it's, similar to proud, vain, arrogant, innocent, or no, conceited, excuse me, and snobbish and stuck up. So that's what I wrote down. Sorry if I messed up. But the point is like when it said in that quote that Zeno said, "Be affable in your relation with those who approach you." That means basically, hey, be a friend, be pleasant, be relatable. You can be respectful. You know, and never haughty. That means, don't brag to be anyone, don't be arrogant. For the pride of the arrogant, even slaves can hardly endure. I like that quote because he's basically saying, um, you know, even the people that serve you can't even stand when you're arrogant. But to get really down to what we're really here to talk about, why are you so afraid of losing time? This all relates and it's all going to come into a circle. So when I look at actually what is available to me in my efforts and the things that my duties, whatever I've got to do and apply myself, when I actually look at what really matters, I'm really more in tune with number 1, how have I completed each thing for the day? Is whatever I'm doing for the day a major part of a piece of a puzzle that I'm trying to put together for my benefit and others? These are crafted questions. And so when we look at, where's my time? Well, what if I told you that a lot of your time is squandered? And this is not something that I really have to point out because most of us do know this. We know exactly, whether we want to admit it to others or not, that every time I spend more than 5 minutes periodically throughout the day on social media, answering a text message, answering an email, unrelated to our business or the best of us, a lot of it is squandered time or idle time. We get bored, kind of like what the example of what was it? Airs. It says she answered with a faint airs of boredom. Well, boredom is a part of what we go through, but there is points that it's just a part of the timing of the process. But there was the key other thing, time. Time was very, very important to define. Now, here's what time is really defined: the indefinite continued progress of existence and events in the past, present, and future regarded as a whole. But it's also defined as a point of time is measured in hours, minutes, and past midnight. So, what are we really, really saying? What are we saying to others? What are we saying to ourselves? How are we actually applying ourselves, for our benefit, and other people are applying. People will say, don't waste my time. If you don't have something affordable to me or you, then, really don't, don't bother. And we see that all the time, especially if you're a content creator, if you're making things on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook, and that's a part of your business. You don't want to waste the amount of time because attention span a lot of times is is so very slight. um, there are people that are trying to outreach. There are people who are definitely trying to get some kind of sequence of validation or that, it's appreciation. But that's the thing. When you're really focused on what you do and your talents and what you're developing, I do feel that, that's where your best is. That means the idle conversations of gossip, the news headlines, like, for example, no disrespect, but let's take the queen for example. When she died, I'm very sorry that she had passed away for that country, the United Kingdom, which is England, Wales, and Scotland, which actually really are three independent countries under one united front, just like the United States. So she passed. She's a monarch. She was the leader of their country, to a great deal and great respect. But you know, what more can I feel? And what I saw is like how much commercial space, how much TikToks came out within the hours of announcement of her death. And I'm like, okay, I'm notified. Thank you. But it's not that I don't appreciate her, but I I don't know the person. I'm sure she's made great, profound, um, let's just say, things on society. And many great leaders, many great influential people have passed and get very little recognition. Is that problematic? No, it's a part of the nature of the life. But when we say, why are you wasting, keyword, why do you, why are you feeling like you're wasting time, or losing time for that matter? And that's because the way that things roll out don't really feel like they're so beneficial. When it's like, say, like if I were to make tortillas, right? Watching my grandmother make handmade tortillas from, grinding up, getting flour to the right consistency with water and I believe yeast. And watching it roll out, hearing that sound in the morning, that bump, 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 slapping with hands, using a rolling pin, and slapping it down on the tortilla pan, heating them up for, our pleasure as the family that she was taking care of. So, I'm sure that her hands wore out and she did develop, arthritis, but the point is that the amount of time that it takes, it's like she could be doing other things. But see, taking the relevant efforts in what you're expressing to do to complete for what? I feel and I'm only assuming, but I would think that if I'm making these things for my family to eat in the morning so that they can go about their day, that's a big part of my job. That's a big part of the day. So, and that doesn't mean that she has more things, but she's completing the task, feed my family, and just move forward, you know. But see, this thing called multitasking was introduced to me, God, like 30 years ago, maybe even 35 years ago, to say the least. But it was introduced and it was like, hey, master so many different tasks or skills or one major, appointment or journey or employment, task, whatever, duty. There were so many things that's like, okay, I've gotta know how to read time on the clock. I've gotta know that I've gotta complete it. I know that I've gotta have all my tools and set. I've gotta have all these things available to me, and what ends up happening is like you've got all these checklists to do one major thing, which is your job or not your assignment to get that done. And then while you're trying to achieve that, monitor other things that may come across your attention, interrupting you. But see, that's where we're at. We're feeling defeated to some degree because we don't feel like we've done enough, or the things that we are doing are they just take up so much, and so we're constantly exchanging the conveniences of of society, technology, artificial intelligence. We're giving that away, and we're trying to skip the steps, and while that's being done is the quality of what we do. Right? Like, for example, I've got an interview coming up. I believe it's, within the next 2 weeks. I asked for this TikToker, and she was making a TikTok video about, hey, people doing the silent quitting and not trying to go get jobs and just take advantage of, unemployment things. She was basically saying, take that time to educate yourself on new skills. If you don't like doing what you were doing, then guess what? Apply yourself, because those positions will not be available because the gaps, the empty slots are giving owners now the ability to be able to choose. Well, automation, hey, makes sense. Don't have to pay the thing. I have one major expense to buy this thing and it will do A, B, and C. Matter of fact, I think it was Starbucks that were released information of its first artificial intelligence barista. And there's two locations, I believe. One is in Seattle, and I think it's at the airport, and the other one is at SFO, San Francisco International Airport. And it just it looks like a big giant arm, and it applies to, it sets the cup, it does all kinds of things, preheats all the milk, whatever your favorite drink is, it puts there. But is it getting the same quality? Well, overall, for time convenience, yes, because there's so many people that want coffee in the morning. And how can any of us deny that if you look at Starbucks in the morning, you go between the hours of 5 and 9 a.m., you will see lines of cars continuously go in for to spend $5 to $7 for one drink. And that's interesting because if you look at the price that you pay, for that convenience, is it allotting you more relaxed availability to do your work or to, you know, I need coffee, I need the boost, I need that energy, I need that warmth in me to really get my engine going. And that's where the illusion starts, really, is what pre-programmed presets do you put in place to perform? So when you're asking, why are you afraid of losing time? It's because you don't want to admit many times that you have leveraged different sequences of your time. And that can't be denied. It really can't. And so quality takes a backseat. Like, for example, I went to dinner not too long ago at a chain restaurant. And this is before last week because I just had recently dental surgery. But what I noticed was when I went to go have a burger, just traditional burger, right? And I looked at the patty and it was like paper or probably like 50 pages or 30 pages thin. It wasn't very thick. It was flimsy, it was firm, it had no juice to it, covered in sauce, covered in all kinds of other things, but there was no moisture in the meat, which makes a big part of, when you have a traditional hamburger that you want the fat, you want the moisture, you want the warmth, all that with the ensemble, with the other ingredients that makes a flavor of a great burger, right? But because we've offered our money and convenience to have all these burger joints, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, you name it, what have you, when we look at this, we're just like, it's not the same anymore. We keep referring to the past, like, I miss the old days. And and while this is happening, there's definitely, let's just say, there's preservatives, there's cooking methods that make this fast, easy, convenient. Like the average wait time, um, for a for an in and out, like getting your burger in and out is literally without lines with less than 5 minutes, literally. So they have things sequenced and set up to have, um, burgers just go through the conveyor belt really, really quickly, flash fired, throw it put the into the assembler's hands, and boom, out the door. So, for our convenience. And so, when we look at, why are we afraid of losing time? It's because we're taking so much of it, to fit in so quickly, and we're not prepared. And then when that time is up, like, if you look at lunch, like, the average lunchtime is, what, 30 minutes? Is that really enough time to go out? So, they've come up with new innovative, um, businesses, teachings, techniques, like DoorDash, or deliverable food, and the cost for those alone, get them to me and don't make me wait. But what if I told you you had an hour, right? An hour to stop, reset your personal clock, your mind, your spirit, your body, to be able to process and slowly eat your food because I've heard it from dentists countless times, like, you gotta be able to chew your food and digest it properly. But because you're on a time bracket of 30 minutes or less, you're gonna go through it so fast. You're gonna go through the convenience so fast that what ends up happening is that people are not happy. They get inflated. Even me, look, I am not totally thin. I have a gut like bigger than 2 bowling balls. And what have I been doing? I've been finding out information to slow my process down. I've been finding out information to not ingest those toxic chemicals, those preservatives, to not go for the key fast food. By not going into that, um, guess what? I have more digestive time to be able to apply myself to doing the best that I can for what I work with. And that means consciously thinking, discerning, creating strategies, creating profits, you know. And by doing that, I elongate what is available to me and I make healthier choices. That's the key. So when we say, why are we afraid of losing time? It's because we're trying to fit so much. We're trying to time slot. We're trying to make it something that it just feels like, wow, if I can compact all this in, and I'm gonna get it all completed, but did you get it done correctly? Did you get it done with the best intentions, the best ability that you could have developed for that thing or service, right? So when we look at the quality of what we do, we exchange dollars for dollars, and we can't deny inflation's going up for fast. And I gotta quote Bradley. He said, you've got 3 things to present. Either you want it fast, you want it good, and you want it done right, and I'm sorry if I'm mixing it up, but he was like, if you want it, or no, excuse me, not good, he was saying, cheap. So which do you want? Do you want fast, cheap, good? Well, you can only pick 2. Which is it? Well, fast and cheap. Well, guess what? Your quality goes out the door. Well, to be, I want it to be good and cheap. Well, you can't have those. So that you're really choosing a different pivots all the time about how something is gonna turn out. So when we look at how things are gonna turn out, we've got to ask ourselves, well, you know what? The best thing that I can do right now is look at what I have and tell my customers, tell my clients, whatever I'm assigned to, whatever um, that makes a difference to me and them, that I'm going to get it to the best ability. And here's the allotted time I'm going to work with. When you tell a customer that exactly, they're literally going to have to choose, well, do I really want it really done good, or do I want it cheap? Or do I want it fast? Well, it's not going to come fast, you know, if I'm putting good into it. But if I'm putting it cheap and fast together, hey, like a burger joint, like a fast food joint, getting your food out quickly, then guess what? You get what you get. But what about when we look at it as us, our time? How much time, how many things come across your attention while you either are not working or you're not trying to do something for someone else, like in your family or for yourself? How many notifications come on your phone? Like, while I was starting the show, my alarm went off, which I forgot to shut off, but it interrupted, well, on the wisdom side where I'm also producing, it interrupted that sound for a moment while I hit I was like, "Oh, wait a second. I forgot." And if I would have been more patient and ran through a checklist, like, do I have everything ready for my audio? Sure. And that's the thing is we have to be able to, when we say take back our availability with the time, we're not afraid of losing it, because you know what? It takes as long as it does. It really does. And when I look at, for example, my family that I love so much, my daughters, um, my significant other, my lady, you know, we've had our rough patches. And sometimes we lose that intimacy by trying to accomplish and provide so much. But if I take back and slow things down just a little bit, even though I may have the anxiety of, like, I don't want to, not be on the outs of not completing something. When I take that time to really do the best that I can for them specifically, and enjoying my time as I've worked so hard for my provisions with them, then you know what? There is nothing in the world that I want more than that. There really isn't. Yes, I want to be wealthy. Yes, I would love to be able to speak to many people. But when I apply myself, when I'm podcasting, when I apply myself, when I'm working, I have agreed to give a certain allotment of my availability through the sequence of events to a thing to complete something. And if I've done it correctly and properly, I feel completed. And I think, and I believe, and I understand in this world, the more things that you complete, with the best of you. You're not afraid of losing anything. You really aren't. I see the wealthiest people in the world. I do not see them stressed about having enough time. I have never heard Warren Buffett talk about stress of time. I have never heard about, whether Jeff Bezos really stress about time because they are a shot caller. They have people underneath them managing aspects of their businesses to facilitate so that they are really making bigger decisions that either we appreciate or we hate. And it's coming close to the closing of this show today. You know, the way that we complain, the way that we rant, and the way that we vent is a big indication of where we are losing most of our time. If we're complaining about social media, matter of fact, I heard it yesterday in Wisdom. Someone was saying, social media can be so depressing. No, let me get something straight to you. And remember this always. And it was taught to me. Matter of fact, I watched Ed Sheeran talk about the only things that social media does for you is either one, it expresses yourself to family and friends and colleagues, or two, it's an advertisement for what you do. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. And I can't say that every time I've had to stop and think about that, did I really think about it concretely? When I look at what is really important to me is I use social media as a tool. I am a speaker, I am a podcaster, I am a vlogger, and a blogger soon to be. These are things. What is the conclusion that I want to get to? The conclusion that I am after is really a revenue source for adding from my experience to you. Nothing more, nothing less. I do have a guest speaker who wants to come up, Brittany Moon. Good morning. Welcome on up, and let's see if it comes through loud and clear. All right, 3, 2, 1. Brittany, what?
Good morning.
How are you? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. What would you like to add?
I really enjoyed your topic. Why are you afraid of losing time? Um, I have sometimes I think we feel like we're saving time when we're
Mhm.
multitasking. We feel like we're saving time, but like you said, the quality is lacking. And I used to be, I'm an excellent multitasker. Like I can get
Mhm.
like 10, 20 things and just like by the end of the day I've got 19 out of 20 checked off. But over time I started looking at my husband, and my husband, he would always have like one thing on his list, and I'm like, that's all you're going to do? He's like, yeah. And my husband is a creative, he makes music and everything, and for him, he can't rush that process of creativity when he's making music, when he's making a song, when he's playing with different instruments and stuff like that. He
Mhm.
has to invest the time so he can get, if he rushes it, it's not going to be the quality. So I started just kind of looking at how he does things, and when I would go back on the things that I thought I was doing well in, I would see, okay, there's an error there, or I could have worded that better, or so he kind of helped
Mhm.
me. Just watching him, that helped me kind of slow down and not put so much on myself. Because even when you're like in traffic and you're like, okay, let me make a right turn here and turn, like you're trying to save a minute or get in another lane, it's like we think we're saving time, but really, like, and even my husband would say all the time, that old song, time is on your side. Like, time is on your side. You have as much time as you need to do what you need to do. Like, and anything that you don't, or you're not able to do in that day, it just wasn't meant to be done. And
Mhm.
ever since I've started doing that, just kind of, it's taken a weight off of my shoulders, because I just was programmed. I can't even tell you. I've always been programmed to live like that, and society is just like a rush, busy. Even in our workplace, like in work, it's kind of like they encourage multitasking now. They it's like a lot of work environments give you a list of things to do, impossible list just to kind of push to see the envelope to see how much you can get done. But like you said, the quality is lacking. And I think we just need to be more mindful of that, because it does make a difference. Like you said, with fast food and, just it kind of takes away, even if you get something done fast, like you said, fast food. Yeah, you got it done fast, but the customer service is lacking.
Hmm.
You know, they're lacking in the customer service area, because they're like, oh, we just got to rush and get it out. They don't have time to say, my pleasure, or how was your day? Like, they're just go, go, go. So I just wanted to, I just
So,
appreciate
if
your
you
talk.
don't, so this is what I want to really want to point out to you exactly, is that multitasking is not tasking. It's not getting the job done. It really isn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't equate. And no matter how you try to roll it or reason it with yourself, you've really got to look at, you know, what is getting done for what process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And am I proud of it? Are you proud of your work? And there are so many of us that really complain about the availability of where I can apply my time to. When you're a parent, when you're a wife, if you
Yeah.
can't attend to your husband, and guess what? And your relationship falls apart, whose fault is it? When cheating takes place, did you give the real best of you, with the time that you have with that person? And 9 times out of 10, people won't wanna self-admit. Now apply that to work. If I
Yeah.
really focus not on gossip at work or comparatively look at who's talking at work or who's doing what, if I'm not looking at them and I'm looking at my process, then I'm looking at the avenues of the ladder of either teaching me to be entrepreneurial, to go forward, or to elevate myself on the totem pole of work, in the organization, in the institution. Then guess what? I'm not doing myself any due diligence. I'm not giving myself any duty. So when we look at the quality of what we apply ourselves to, look and slim it down. People talk about silent quitting and silent firing. Well, you know what? I'm not considered about any of that. You know why? Because if I can't put the best of me where it needs to be, and I'm worried if I've reached my plateau with the company, thank them. I appreciate you where you've taken me, what you've taught me. If I've reached that, then guess what? No, there's nothing about silent quitting. There's nothing, there's call it what you want, but we've always known, like, hey, it's time to move on. It's time to elevate. So as I bring this show to a close, Brittany, I'd love to bring you back up, but I've got a certain amount of a lot of time, and I've been trying to keep it under 30 minutes. I'm going 30 plus, but thank you so much for coming up. But I'll end with this. You're not losing time because time keeps going whether you're here or not. It's the measurement and the sequence of events. If you look at taking time to breathe, the quality of breathing. If you're looking at the quality of when you brew like your coffee, but I happen to drink mud water, in the morning. I enjoy the warmth. I enjoy my presence. I enjoy looking at my woman. I enjoy looking at my children and seeing them grow. Then guess what? I'm not shifting. I'm not diluted. I'm not worried about anything else. So if there's a final message that I can do today is into helping you stop worrying about losing time, look at why you are. Maybe it's you have not given yourself enough grace and availability to do the simple things first that make the bigger things better. So that's all the time that I have for Rise and Grind. Thank you so much for those who have come out and listened. I'll see you all Wednesday, and I'll be probably continuing the sequence of events and this kind of a topic. So make sure that you tune in between the hours of 7 and 8 a.m. I roughly start. I'm trying to get narrow down that clock time, and we'll see you next time. Take care.